So what I want to ask you is, what have you learned? So I want 3 things that you've learnt from doing 100 podcast episodes.
I mean, I can give you so many more, but the top 3 things, I think the first would be consistency being key to the growth of the podcast. And not just to the podcast, but to my brand, Pharmacist Diaries, and allowing myself the time to be consistent, but also having that patience when other things get in the way, whether that's, pregnancy, parenting, a newborn baby. We've had a lot of ups and downs with just life in general over the last 3 years. We've moved house twice in that time. We've lived in 3 different homes since we started the podcast. Lily's been to a couple of schools, in fact 3 or 4 schools and nurseries in that time. So we've had a lot of change personally, but in my head I think that you play the long game when it comes to podcasting, and just accepting that it takes a lot of time and energy and effort to make something of this podcast and this channel. And there's been an incredible amount of growth over the course of 3 years. And I wish I could have grown so much faster. I wish I would be at 100. I wanted to be at 100 episodes, like minimum, by the sort of 2nd year. But I have learned to slow down. I've learned to accept that it's okay to grow at your own pace. So that was kind of, the first thing. I think as a podcaster, I'm learning still to find my voice and be authentic in terms of the conversations and what it is that I want this podcast to look, to feel, to sound like. And that means being me, and not following any trends, but actually doing what feels right for me. And part of that is to have really authentic, genuine, enjoyable conversations that don't necessarily feel like an interview, because obviously I am a host and I'm interviewing other people, but I think there's a lot of value in a skill that I have in making people feel comfortable in the conversation, and it's a natural ability which I have enjoyed over the time that we've been sharing conversations with people. I also think I've learnt so much about myself, and I've loved the fact that we've built a diary of conversations. But like you said, it's a diary of conversations I've had with other people, but it's also a diary of my personal and professional life that we can go back to. And that's, really, really valuable for me and for people listening, even for my kids who might be listening to my podcast years from now. They'll learn about themselves when we've talked about them on the podcast, or learn about my work ethic and what I'm like as a person, as a professional, and hopefully that will be inspiring for them to be big and bold and try something outside of their comfort zone. Because this isn't like a natural podcasting isn't a natural skill as a pharmacist. It's completely creative and innovative and outside of the norm of what a pharmacist would do, and learning to be an entrepreneur, because that's how I feel now. I feel like I can call myself an entrepreneur, which I love. I love that I can call myself that, and I love that I've been able to do things the way that I want to do. I've got complete control of how this podcast looks, how my website gets built, how I manage my social media, who I have conversations with, when I have the conversations. All of that stuff really makes me happy. So those are kind of the main